morning. We have to restart because of some technical difficulties. Yes, I was saying that your psyche, your personality is affected and ordained not by an agency outside you, not by a divine agency, so called God, not by people out of your existence, but by you. The free will is the concept that is pertinent and valid for all your actions. Whatever action you take is an action that you take out of free will. And as a matter of fact, even when you're performing your duty, carrying out a job, you have always two options to do or not to do. This variation of Hamlet's to be or not to be is an important ingredient of your free will. Any action which is performed by your mind out of your own volition, out of your own action, is an act of free will. And that action determines what you are. And once it has been determined what you are, it determines whether you'll be successful or not be successful. You see, what is destiny or fate? The basic concept of the fate or destiny, as enunciated by some sages, is that there's an agency outside the human reality that ordains what is going to happen. No, it's not that. The sum total of all your actions taken by you, the actions undertaken by you out of your own free will, out of your free volition, assembled together, that sum total is your fate. What you are doing today is an action of free will. What would happen tomorrow would be sum total of all your actions taken right from the day one of your conscious work till today. And some actions of your parents, your teachers, your peer group also affect and determine the fate of the destiny as such. When you're too young, a toddler, the actions taken by you can make or mar both your physical and mental state of mind. They can condition your reflexes. And that constitutes your destiny. That constitutes your fate. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot change the facts. You see, if the fate was something which is definitive, which is unalterable, then it would be divine ordained. But nothing in the world is such which is absolutely unalterable, unchangeable. Even the worst things can be changed by hard work, dedicated work, and attitude to change the situation. Many times you would hear, this was ordained to be. No, it was not. Your actions today and till today have contributed to that thing. Ultimately, it's your free will that determines where you are, whether you'll be successful, whether you'll be a failure. You see, free will means basically a decision taken on your part. And that decision can either be forced decision or can be taken of free will. Now, my contention is that there's nothing in the world which is forced decision. If you're corrupt, if you're dishonest, that's not forced on you. Nobody wants you to be corrupt. But you want to be corrupt because you can want to provide better things to your family, to your children. Now, if you are a free agent, you might not have done it, but you can afford to be a free agent. You can say, okay, I'm not earning that much, so let my family not live a luxurious life. It's a matter of choices. The choice you make is responsible for your action, but your action is an action of free will. Now take the case of war. There are people who don't want to fight the war. There are two options for them. They can be deserters or they can be conscious objectors. Desertion is an act of cowardice and an act of betrayal, but then action has been done with the full cognizance of what it is going to be. On the other side, if you're a conscious objector and you say, no, I don't agree, my conscience doesn't permit it, you might be imprisoned, but you have exercised your free will. And your destiny, if you are jailed, has been there not because of some God agency taking the action, but because of your exercise of free will. Now, what happens ultimately is that you will find that with free will, you can also avert disasters. There are always two options, always. You're going somewhere, all of a sudden you find a fireball creeping towards you, and you find a kid in the way. It's a choice for you to run away and save yourself, or to try to save the kid, and in the process, you might save the kid, and you might not save the kid. But you are exercising your free will, and in the process, quite possible you might be injured, or you might be harmed, or you might even die. Now, the diehards, the fatalists would say that it was ordained that you die doing this. I said, no. You died performing a job that you undertook out of free will. I'm not going into the ethical part, whether you should have done it or should not have done it. Should is not relevant. What is relevant is, have you done it or have you not done it? If you have done it, it is because your mind, your psyche, your brain, your intuition wanted you to do it. If you have not done it, it's the same reason that your mind, your psyche, your brain, your intuition told you not to do it. You remember that many stories have been written on this, that you run away at the time of need, and then you start cursing and try to make penance, repent for what you have done. The act of atonement, we call it. Now, act of atonement cannot wipe away the result of your action. It can change your mind for the future, but it cannot wipe away what has already happened. As a matter of fact, atonement is like wallowing in mud unless you change your way of thinking. So, the question is, what decides your work and your success? Does your free will determine it, or is it an indeterminate destiny? I would say they are not antithetical. They are not opposed to each other, but they are complementary. Because your action today is a continuous process of the working of your mind right from the day one. You are being attuned, trained, and oriented towards taking that action. And that is responsible for the results. Now, as I said, destiny, fate, is the sum total of all your actions. You can't run away from that. If you have been taught and all your actions have been taken, as a rational being, your success would be there. If you have been erratic, you see, then some actions are good, some are bad, so they get balanced in the end. And the balance can be negative, it can be positive. It's negative, your destiny would be negative. And if it's positive, you are still on the winning side. But an absolute rational person, even when he acts on intuition, now this is important. I always say, follow your gut feeling, follow the head, not the head, but the heart. But when you're following the heart, it's your intuition which is guiding you. And intuition is based on your sum total experience, your teachings, the values you have been brought up to. This is not something again superimposed. So all that combines to make free will. The choice, decision of choice. The options are given to you. You can choose the option. And you would most certainly choose the option dependent on what your education is, what your thought pattern is, what values you have been taught, what values you have inculcated after being taught, what values you have thrown by the wayside, what values you have picked up. So this value pattern is always working on your mind, and whenever a choice is there for you, it tells you what to do and what not to do. Now, at that time, the intuition says do it and not do it based on the past experience. If you go against the intuition, that is free will, or going with the institution is free will. But that contributes to your fate and destiny. When you say, I don't want to do it, I want to be corrupt, I want to be dishonest, it's free will. You can take a specious argument that you want to look after your family. No. You have not been brought up here to do something wrong for the family. You can look after the family. You may not give them luxury, but as long as you're giving them necessities of life, you're doing your job. Free will is there. But sometimes the free will is countered by the constant bragging, constant nagging, and constant jealousy, envy of the neighbor, envy of the relations, envy of the friends. And there the free will is affected, but still it remains a free will. Because you have always an option of not succumbing to, not bowing down to, not agreeing to the false premises on which the choices have to be made. The choice, once you make it, is absolutely the deciding factor for your fate and destiny. People who blame destiny are blaming destiny because of their inefficiency, because of their incapacity to make a choice, or for their failing, not for failing to make a choice, but not making a proper choice. You see, choices are made, and then you should be prepared. Now, you can't sow mangoes and expect papayas. Simple. You will sow and you will reap what you sow, right? So, if your actions of the free will, are detrimental to your psyche, let's not talk of the other things, to your own psyche, then your fate is doomed. Because you have taken an action which is not in consonance with your universe of mind and intellect. So free will is motivated by you and in turn motivates you. It's a cyclical thing. It's not something which emerges from outside. It is sum total of your experiences, your thoughts, and it also influences your future thoughts and future experiences. Destiny, as I said, is accumulation of all such things and all such actions. Another thing, once you decide to take a rational or intuitive view of things, You'll be amazed that I'm saying rational and intuitive as they're the same. They are more or less as synonyms in the real sense of term. As I said, your intuition always is right. When there's a conflict between the head and the heart, the conflict is not between right and wrong. The conflict is between selfish ends and the real human ends. And if you pick up the human ends, human aspect, your free will would be more rational, more constructive, and more humanistic. You see, sometimes narrow goals, immediate gains are simply greed, avariciousness, lust. They affect our free will. But still it remains your free will because you have allowed those things to influence you. So, ultimately, your success or your failure is a result of your free will. And your destiny is nothing but a sum total of all your actions undertaken by you, whether positive or negative. Do not blame somebody else. Do not blame an agency for making your destiny. You are the maker of your destiny. You decide your fate by your actions as a rational, intuitive human being. Let that be your guiding principle. Confidence in yourself, confidence in your tuition, and ability. Now, I'm coming to the most important part. Ability to make a rational, correct decision. Now, what is correct is for you to decide. If you decide to be dishonest, again, that's up to you. But then be prepared for the consequences and don't blame divine agencies. They don't exist. They are only to lollipops to satisfy you. You have done something wrong. You want to assuage your guilt and you go to your church or mandir or gurdwara. No. It is you who are responsible for your psyche and for your success. And your fate is in your hand.